What's crazy is how everybody's still just like playing along with this whole thing, right? Like, how many people are aware of the fact that the government is just fucking us, right? Like, outright. They're committing war crimes and then they're supporting other nations that are doing the same, right? All of our products are made by slave labor. Everything is just designed to crush and destroy what exists of the, I guess, would be middle class, right? They're actively brainwashing and hypnotizing and indoctrinating the entire population, definitely starting off with children and all this other fun. And it's been going on for well over a century. Some people could say for thousands of years, these types of things have been kind of progressing, right? But definitely in the last 100 years, America has been the primary focal point of these attacks, right? Because you can't have a nation whose primary, like, belief system is independence and freedom, right? And at its core, that's what America is supposed to be. Like, we've come a long way from that path, right? The fact that we pay income tax, like, as a population, that's insane all around, right? Because 100 years ago, the country wanted to go to war, they'd sell war bonds to its people, right? Its people had to approve the war and fund it. Now, when something happens, right, the people look to the government to bail them out. And that says a lot about the shift of power. So, like, we ought to be disgraced. We ought to be really angry. And we ought to kind of take steps to go through it. You know, what's really insidious about social media is that, like, a click, a little thumbs up thing gives you the feeling like you did something. But, like, for the most part, you didn't really do shit, right? And, you can protest all you want, right? If you're still paying your taxes, then you're actively contributing to the beast, right? If you're still just going about your business and doing your thing, you still got your subscription services and your cable and all this other fun, and you're just actively feeding into it, right? You hate the monopolies and the Chinese slave labor, but you still buy everything off of Amazon, right? Like, your attention, where you put your attention, is very important. Like, you feed these creatures, they're parasites, right? These politicians, a lot of these businesses, and the whole new world agenda is to create a feudal system where you are less than, you are a slave class, you are a serf, and they are your lord, right? And we have this immeasurable gap between the haves and have-nots in this world, right? And the vast majority of people in America are haves, right? So even the poorest people in America are still better off than a lot of people on the planet. And we are indignant, selfish brats. And we do have a responsibility not only to ourselves, to our nation, and to the planet, because we are the only thing that stands in the way of total enslavement. We're supposed to be this shining city on a hill, right? The beacon of prosperity for the world to see, and we've allowed ourselves to become just a husk of what we could be. We're supposed to be leading the way through competition and through success and through striving, right? The ascertaining of the American dream is supposed to be an ideal that resonates through the souls of every person on the planet, right? But we're killing our children, turning our backs on our families and our loved ones. We're just destroying everything that our ancestors built, right? All of these things that we inherited, the most prosperous and successful format for existing, and we are actively destroying it, right? And it's by design, right? Because if you want to take over the world, you have to start with the predominant military power, right? You can use that military to siphon all the resources and the wealth from its people. And you can have food and a medical industry that makes your population sick, and then you can siphon even more of their wealth while making them stupid and unhealthy and dependent on you, right? You can use all of the media and the educational systems in order to indoctrinate, to brainwash, and control their entire perspective. Create an entire nation of sheep that'll march along and do whatever you want as you parasitically feed off of them. Then you can use these brainwashed people to conquer the planet, right? Or you can allow it to happen. And it's insane how far we've fallen as a people, right? And perhaps we look at history with an idealized vision, you know. Maybe we reached a point where we have bloated, right? Where the whole you're spoiled because you inherited too much, whatever. But there are a lot of people within this nation who believe as I believe and who feel as I feel and understand that America has a responsibility to not fall into this dictatorship, this tyranny, this agenda that has been laid out for the world, right? So I definitely think that it's very important. And I think that we need to wake up as a population. We need to stop poisoning ourselves. That would probably be the first step. Stop the poison. Stop the poisonous thoughts. Stop the poisonous foods, drinks, right? All the toxic environments. Stop the social media, the regular media. Stop all of this outside contamination that infects you, eats away at your brain and your soul like maggots. Then figure out where you want to be, who you want to be, how you can contribute, and then produce value. Produce real value, like we used to, before we shipped everything off, right? We have all these tech companies that don't produce technology, right? They just figure out new ways to use existing technology. So there's no real innovation. There's just more ways to trick sensory inputs, right? And just get you more addicted to it instead of figuring out ways to further you as an individual. They're just trying to steal your attention, make you a useless consumer, blind to everything going on around you besides this very narrow pathway where there is no growth and there is no evolution. And you're just this pathetic thing that feeds into their system. All right, we got more in common with each other than those that wants to fight.